Elizabeth Gilbert, you will be presenting your new book, Big Magic, at the DAI tonight. And we are very happy to have you here. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
In this book, you talk about the power of creativity as a life transformer and also about your own writing process. You said that often enough writing is also hard work, and often you have to barrel through to get a book written. What are your rituals to get in the flow of writing?
It doesn't sound very glamorous, and it doesn't sound very exciting. It's the most pragmatic possible thing in the world. It's all about a timer.
A timer?
I write by the clock. When I'm not in the flow, which is most of the time, because the flow is a very rare state. You know, you don't spend your whole life, unless you're, I don't know, some kind of crazy mad genius. You don't spend most of your life receiving perfect ideas and putting them on the page with no obstacles. So on the days when the work is difficult and it's not working very well, you know, it used to be a kitchen timer from the kitchen, an egg timer. Now it's on my iPhone, 30 minutes, set the clock, and you sit at that chair for 30 minutes, and you're not allowed to leave the chair, and you're not allowed to go on YouTube, and you're not allowed to do anything except be there and try. And then sometimes that's all you can do. Some days that's all you can do, and that's going to have to be enough. And other days you get maybe 22 minutes in, and something starts to happen. But you have to set yourself very small goals. So if you can return to the work for 30 minutes a day for 6 months, I guarantee you that you will have moments where all of a sudden everything is coming together. But you can't wait for it. You have to just sit there and do the work.
So the timer gives you a focus and not the bad conscience, like not having done enough.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you can say on the record of your day, I did it, I showed up. And I feel like the whole relationship of a human being to their creativity is a contract. It's a kind of relationship. You're in a conversation and a dialogue with inspiration. And so you need to show it that you're there. You check in, okay, I was here for 30 minutes. I did my job. I always say to my muses and my genies, anytime you want to join me, I'm here, I'm ready. But I did let the record show I was here today, and I'll be here tomorrow, and I'll be here on Friday, and I'll be here on Saturday, and I'll be here for decades.
You give the signals.
And that's it. Sometimes I feel like I would rather see people do that than wait for the big moment of inspiration to come, because they'll be waiting for a long time.
You mentioned the genius, which leads me to my next questions. You gave a wonderful TED talk on nurturing creativity. In this talk you also described the anti-concept of the genius and the muses. And I was just wondering, how can we make the voice of this genius more audible to ourselves? How can we open up the inner space in all the patterns of thinking we are in all day long?
One of the really important things is to value it enough that you create time for it. When I first started to write Big Magic, I put a message on Facebook that said, if you are not practicing creativity in your life right now, and you want to be, tell me why you are not doing it. What's the problem? What's the obstacle? And I would say 90% of the responses from the hundreds of thousands of people who wrote back were, I don't have time. I don't have time. I'm so busy. I'm so stressed. I have so many obligations in my life. Here's the thing, and they would often use this language. They would say, I can't find the time. And what I've learned in life is that time is not something that you find. It's something that you make.
You take.
Or you take. And the way that you make it and the way that you take it is by doing something that's very difficult for a lot of people, especially for women, setting boundaries and saying, no more, I'm sorry, I can't be with you, I need this hour. Making something sacred, holding something for yourself, rather than giving every single molecule of your energy away to other people. It's a really difficult thing to do, because especially if you're like me and you like to please everybody, it's really hard to say no. But if you don't start saying no, then you'll never find the time. You have to make that time. And in order to say no, you have to believe that this is important and that this has meaning, because no one's going to give you that time. Nobody ever knocked on somebody's door and said, here's an extra hour, you know, for free. I just gave it to you. It's never, ever, ever going to happen. That's the main thing.
So it's also an exercise of being true to one's needs, isn't it?
Yeah, and also one's excitement. You know, I have a friend who always says this wonderful line. He says, don't give up the great for the good. And what he means by that is that we spend so much of our lives doing things that are very good. It's not like we're criminals and we're doing horrible things, right? The stuff that you do all day and that I do all day, it's very good. It's your responsibilities, your obligations, your duties. You're doing good thing after good thing after good thing after good thing. And you're so busy doing all these good things that you never make time to do a great thing. And so what you have to do every morning, his rituals, he wakes up and says, what is the one thing I could do today that would be great? And sometimes it's a nap. Truly, it's a different thing every day. Sometimes it's spending time with somebody who you really love. Sometimes it's exercise. And the very first decision he makes is, where am I going to put that in the day before I plan everything else? Because otherwise the day will end and it will look just like the day before it. And this year will look just like last year. And the next decade will look just like the decade before, because you never did a great thing. And you can give up some of the good things to do a great thing.
And you can create your own marks in time with this idea.
Well, it also causes your life. I mean, I think a definition that I really love of depression and despair, actually it's a better definition for despair. Despair is a spiritual condition in which you believe that tomorrow is going to look exactly like today. That's despair. And that next year is going to be just like this year. There's no point in trying anything. There's no point in doing anything. It's all the same. And one of the really important things about creating time for great things, which doesn't have to be you writing a symphony like Mozart, it can just be you spending some time on what you care about, is that makes tomorrow different from today. And it makes next weekend different from last weekend, so that you don't feel like you're just a robot in the machine.
In Eat, Pray, Love, you also write about your path to spirituality. May I ask you how your spirituality finds its way into your writing, in the process?
Actually, I think my writing is my foremost spiritual practice, and it has been. And it was my spiritual practice before I even knew what the word spiritual practice meant, because I take it with such devotion. You know, it's really, to me, it feels like my commitment to this work is the best possible use of my time. And when I am in the process of writing, even on days when it's not going well, I feel like I am the most authentic version of myself. Because the rest of the day, like most of us, I'm usually in some kind of a weird performance. You know, I like when I'm interacting with my colleagues, I'm sort of, there's a public face that I'm putting on, or when, you know, a lot of your life is about sort of putting on a certain costume to show up for a certain role, which is okay. We all have to do that.
We need them,
You know, we all play roles. In the family, I play the role of a daughter, I play the role of a sister. You know, in my neighborhood, I play certain roles with different members of my community. When I'm writing, all of that's gone. And the person who's sitting at that chair is the most authentic version of myself. And I feel like spirituality is about that. It's about losing all these other masks and getting down to the core of what the authentic thing is. Now, not everybody has to find that through creativity. I happen to find it, it's easier for me to find it in creativity than it is for me to find it in prayer and meditation, although I practice those as well. But I don't disappear into them the way I would like to. You know, if I could have in meditation practice the same transcendence that I have in writing, I would stop writing and I would become a monk. But the fact is that whenever I sit in meditation, I usually fall asleep, or I'm bored, or I'm wondering what I'm doing. But when I'm writing, it has that effect. Time stops, all my ego goes away, and it's just me in relationship with something that's very sacred. And that's spirituality.
One last question. What do you think can literature do for people? I was also thinking of a healing quality, maybe.
You know, I think all of the arts have a healing quality in them, and one of the reasons is because they're unnecessary. So this is going to sound like a weird answer, because
this is what you also write about.
Yeah, because I think the benefit of the arts is that they are unnecessary. Because without unnecessary things in our lives, we're nothing but the sum of our obligations and our responsibilities. We're basically slaves to the world, right? If everything that you do as a human being has to be because it's productive, because it's efficient, because it contributes to society, because it advances your family, because it creates your empire, you know, all of this is sort of about marching.
Production,
so that you become a means of production, right? Creativity is this strange space that we go into as human beings, where we say, I'm going to do something that's totally unnecessary here, just to show that I'm not just a brick in the wall, right? To quote Pink Floyd. And what I find fantastic about creativity and mysterious and sacred about it is that when a person decides to start a creative project, essentially what they're saying to the world is, I'm going to take the most valuable resource that I have, which is my time
of life.
My hours, my life force. We know that we're not going to live forever. We know that every day we live is one less day we're here, right? We know this stuff is very valuable. And once you spend your time, you can never get it back. It's a currency that's gone. It's spent. It's finished. It's the treasure of your life is your waking hours. I'm going to take that time that can never be replaced, and I'm going to use it to make something that nobody needs. And maybe nobody wants. And maybe nobody likes. You know, and maybe I don't even like it when I'm finished with it. And maybe I never make any money from it. And maybe there's no point to it. But this is my tiny little act of defiance and my tiny little act of holiness, where I say, before I leave this thing, this world, this life, this experience, I want to put my handprint on the wall and say that I was here. And the arts are a wonderful way to do that. And looking at the arts that other people have made is a fantastic way to be reminded of that too. Because when you're reading a novel, you're not producing anything. You know, you're taking a break from being a slave. I always love the Exodus story, this ancient story in the Bible about when the Jews came out of captivity and they stopped being slaves. They began the rule that said there has to be a day of Sabbath, because they had to have one day where you don't work, just to prove that you're not a slave. Like, that's what the Sabbath day is for. It's to prove that you're not a slave. It's for this reason that I have some friends now who are doing what they call the Cellular Exodus, which is on Saturday night, they turn the phone, they take all the phones in the family and all the iPads and all the computers, and they put them in a box, and they put them in a closet, and they lock the closet, and they have one day of the week where they're not connected to the electronic world, to prove that they aren't the slave of it. You know, and I think the arts are that. It's a kind of an exodus. It's a Sabbath. It's a way that you say, I'm not just here to produce wealth. I'm not just here to be a means of production. I'm not just here to be a consumer. I'm here to be whimsical. I'm here to have adventures. I'm here to have explorations. And I'm here to be the highest possible definition of myself.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth Gilbert.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.